Dear students, we are going to talk about measurement of personality in today's class. This is going to be part 1 of the lecture. The overview of the presentation is we're going to talk about measurement of personality. Then we will look into the methods. There are around 5 methods, and in this lecture we are only going to talk about questionnaire method and the projective test. In the projective test, we are only going to talk about the technique. In the second part, we are going to talk about these tests in detail. So, the measurement of personality serves both the criterial and practical purposes. Now the question comes, what is your personality trait? Are you punctual? Are you disciplined? Are you fun-loving? Are you gregarious? What is your personality trait? What is the combination of different traits that you are made up of? So this is why we're kind of measuring the personality of a person. When an individual who has difficulties of personal adjustment comes for help to a psychiatrist, it is valuable to assess his personality. As I said before, to measure the personality, we have to measure the traits of personality. And it is possible to measure needs. What is a need? Need is a gap between what is and what ought to be. Attitudes, your general feeling favorable or unfavorable towards anything and your object, your interests, values, and other personality characteristics also. Now, the first method to measure personality is the questionnaire method. This method involves the preparation of a list of questions or statements. Each one is concerned with some aspect of the feeling, attitude, habit, or mode of behavior related to the personality characteristic which is intended to be measured. What happens here is the respondent for each statement indicate agreement or disagreement, or acceptance or rejection, or affirmation or denial for the statement that are being written. The questions are constructed in such a way that the affirmation of some, denial of others express the presence of the trait that is measured. Each question is followed by yes or no, untrue or doubtful, or other similar responses. Here the respondent under a line of response that shows his character. For example, in a social gathering, I like to be the center of attention, whether the statement is true or false. Second, in a meeting, I prefer to occupy a back seat, true or false. Third, when you have to make an important decision, do you prefer someone else to decide for you? Now the answer has to be yes or no, or true or false. Usually a personality test contains 30 to 50 items. By item I mean 30 to 50 questions. The questionnaire method is also called objective test of personality. So, which test it is called? It is called as objective test of personality. In this method, the respondent should be truthful and very frank. This happens sometimes and this doesn't happen all the time. So, in order to get a more truthful response of the questionnaire method, here the person can always say no to the things which the person actually is. So we are using a different method, that is the second method, which is called as projective test. The projective tests are so named because they induce the individual to project, to put himself into the situation, or to identify with the person therein, and by telling about them, to reveal his own motives, attitudes, apprehensions, and aspirations. So the basis of projective test is based on the mechanism of projection. The projective test is a device for measuring the personality which the person tested does not recognize as such. He makes spontaneous response in the test. The test presents a highly unclear situation, and the respondent is required to perceive and describe that situation. So whatever the person is kind of perceiving and writing about that situation is actually He's kind of creating a story which is nothing but the character that he himself is coming out in the process. So the situation has no definite characteristics, and different persons perceive that situation in different ways. So as I told you, in perceiving the unclear situation, each person reflects his own needs, attitudes, habits, interests and feelings, and behavior patterns. Now the projective method is called projective because in perceiving and describing the situation, a person brings out his personality characteristics. Two well-known projective tests are Rorschach in plot test and thematic apperception test. We are going to talk about these two tests in detail in the next class. Thank you.